So this is the motley crew that flew with Brad's camera. So we were going up to do a complete makeover of Hubble. And I think that, again, is really appropriate because the main thing we were doing is putting in a brand new digital camera, but a new camera on Hubble. As I learned later, Brad was always interested in Hubble and always asked me lots of great questions, but was a real fan of Hubble as the ultimate camera. It can see and has seen, back 13 billion years in the universe's history. It is actually the instrument that allowed astronomers to measure the age of the universe, 13.7 billion years. Confirmed that the center of every galaxy has a massive black hole. So we blasted off on May 12th. I didn't get to see the launch, so this is what it looked like. I was right about there. But it really is a wild ride. And even more remarkable than me making it to orbit is the fact Brad's camera made it intact, that it got shake, rattled, and rolled a lot. And I won't use that as an excuse for why the pictures may be a little fuzzy, because that camera has seen a lot more wear and tear, I'm sure, as Brad's been using it than we could ever do it. Once we got to orbit, we had to catch Hubble, essentially. So the orbiter and Hubble are traveling 17,800 miles an hour, but relative to each other, Hubble is standing still. So we went out, Drew and myself, on the first EVA. These spacesuits are really remarkable, and it really is very similar in a lot of ways. Here I am on the side of the telescope, one-handed on a 514. So you can just see my toe on a rivet at the moment. But anyway, it's just marvelous being in weightlessness and being able to float around and do all these kind of things. In the backpack, I have oxygen, carbon dioxide scrubbing, battery, communication system, fans, cooling, and all of that kind of thing. One person typically is free-floating. The other person is on the robotic arm, kind of in ski bindings, and Megan would fly them around. And our task was to remove that wide-field camera. Hubble is about 45 feet tall, 14 feet wide, so the size of a big school bus. And it's been up there for 19 years. And again, we were putting in new instruments, new batteries, new gyroscopes, trying to give it, hopefully another 10 years of lifetime. Looking out the window, or out EVA, this is Drew and myself inside of the Hubble working. And you get these spectacular views as we go around the Earth once every 96 minutes. So we get a sunrise and a sunset. And so this is actually the terminator between day and night on the Earth. When in 2004 I was on Denali, we had 70-mile-an-hour winds, pretty much minus 40 C or F, every single day. We get minus 200 F here, and plus 200. So the spacesuits are really remarkable that they can protect us from all of that. This is actually on EVA 5 at the end. Megan took me way out over the shuttle wing. You can't see it, but I have a digital camera that I'm taking pictures. I also took pictures of Drew, who I think was just screwing around. You get to fly like Superman, which is really neat, through the tunnel to the airlock. It's very easy to get started, very hard to stop. I do love looking out the window. I can never tire looking at planet Earth. Anytime I'm near a window, I try and have a camera. This was our sort of standard camera. It's a Nikon D2XS. It's about a 12-megapixel camera. I think it's really neat that in the Hubble we still put in a better camera. But this is a picture that I took early in the mission because the Himalayas was only daylit on the first couple of days. Really, really spectacular. All kinds of really amazing things you get to see from space. So here's some islands off the coast of Africa, and there's a strong southerly wind, and the wind is hitting these islands and creating vortices that just travel on for hundreds of miles. Pretty neat. Now, if you think about some of these, if there's a lot of moisture and lift, some of these vortices will cross the Atlantic and become hurricanes. Well, finally, we had to deploy the Hubble Space Telescope, my third mission. I was worried whether I'd be sad watching Hubble float off into the distance. And I gave Hubble one last little pat and actually a salute, and said, "Good voyages, Hubble." And the big picture is we didn't break the telescope, which is always a hazard. It's a very delicate satellite. And if we'd left and we'd broken it, I would have felt very bad. But this is a picture of a sunrise. You basically wait until there's a little glow on the horizon and then start clicking, because once the sun comes up, you can't look anymore. We launched, just for perspective, at a roughly 1 in 70 risk of not coming home. So when you compare that to mountaineering, but for something very important. So finally, after 5.28 million miles, 197 orbits of the Earth, 12 days, 21 hours, and miscellaneous minutes in space, Scott Altman was able to put the Earth under the wheels of Space Shuttle Atlantis on a strip 200 feet wide by 15,000 feet long as a glider, where we did our maneuver 6,000 miles before and then crossed part of the Pacific over the California coast and landed on this runway as a brick with wings to bring our mission to a close. But that's not the end of the story, of course, because Hubble does great science. These are calibration images from the Hubble. This is a picture of what's called a globular cluster. So this is about 10 million stars or so in a spherical ball. All of these stars are about the same age. The neat thing about Hubble is it can resolve every single one of these stars. So all these yellow stars are like our sun. The red ones are probably much bigger. And this showed that the telescope is working and productive. This is where stars come from. This is a knot of material, of dense dust. And in the center of this, a brand new star is being born. The dust is collapsing, the hydrogen gas is collapsing, a new star is turning on. It's expelling some material. Out of view of this picture is a couple of very bright stars, and the ultraviolet light from the stars is causing all of this material to evaporate. You can kind of see like a wind pushing against these dense knots. And Hubble is actually able to study these and peer into them in great detail. One of the things about this picture is it's taken in light that, instead of being just red, green, and blue filters, is actually a specific filter that selects just light that comes from oxygen molecules that are radiating light. And we see that on Hubble. And I think that's pretty neat, because every time you take a breath, that oxygen had to come from somewhere. It wasn't created when the Big Bang occurred. All the Big Bang created was hydrogen, helium, lithium, and a few other tiny things. And all the rest of the chemical elements that we're made out of, mountains are made of, and the oxygen that we try and breathe as we climb were created in stellar furnaces. So we were processed through the inside of 2 to 3 stars before there was enough stuff to make us. When we look at stars at the end of their life, we see this. So this is a star about 5 times the mass of our sun, buried in the middle of here. And as the star dies, it doesn't go quietly. It has these massive explosions, and again, showing the injection, if you will, the spreading out of elements that then we were made out of. So this material will spread out, a new star will be born, and that's really the story of how we came to be. Astronomy tries to answer these fundamental questions of, where did I come from? Everybody wants to know that. I do. I don't know. This is a picture, it's called Stephan's Quintet. I just wanted to show you sort of the reach of Hubble. And again, these are all just sort of calibration images, although they were picked to be also very beautiful. So this is a galaxy. That's a galaxy. This is actually 2 galaxies that are colliding. They're doing a cosmic dance. And this is an overexposed galaxy. Brad would be very disappointed. Each of these galaxies has about 100 billion stars in it. This view is equivalent to holding up a soda straw at arm's length and looking through it on the sky. All right, so there's Brad's camera. I'm in my EVA suit. Now, I did not take it out EVA. So here's picture number 1. So this is Mexico. People talk frequently about, astronauts, it's an urban myth. You can't see borders from space. The world is one. We're one family on planet Earth. And that's BS. So here's the border with Mexico, right here. You look here and we come along, and here's that notch, Arizona, New Mexico. It looks like a Rand McNally map. So all this really proves is that what we already knew is that Brad was incredibly skilled with all those cameras. Haven't spent a lot of time working on this, but I used it to take a picture of Hubble because I thought Brad would like that. Again, just a comparison, so here's Sinai, here's the Nile River Delta and the Nile, Brad's camera with an incompetent operator, and a shot that I took with the digital Nikon. I can't tell you how, the bottom line is it was just incredibly cool to have his camera up there. And I really owe it all to Jason. I'd like us all to give Jason a round of applause. And I just want to read something from Brad's autobiography. I can't help but reflect on the role of exploration in modern society, where it seems as if all of the frontiers of the Earth have been studied. Current explorations must extend beyond the Earth's boundaries. They used the Hubble Space Telescope to look millions of miles away, billions actually. Maybe if I'd come along later, that's what I would have worked on in 2005. And I had no idea, unfortunately, that he felt that way, but I feel incredibly privileged that I was able to, to take Brad to orbit with me. I think that's the end of my story. So thank you very much.